What's up, guys? My name is Veronica, also known as Coach V, and I am your host for the Oversharing podcast with Live the Dream Media. What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Oversharing podcast. My name is Veronica, also known as Coach V. I am your host, and I am so excited to have you guys back this Tuesday. Before we bring our guests on, I want to do a little bit of recap. Those of you that have me on Instagram, shared some super vulnerable stuff that's happening in my life, but I had a lot of messages and a lot of support. That is something I want to come back and talk about with somebody else in the future when I'm ready. I'm just not quite there yet. But I just want you guys to know that I took all the time to read through all your messages. It took a couple days, but it was really heartfelt. And I'm really grateful for the community that we've built on there. So thank you guys for sharing your stories. Without further ado, we're going to go to a quick sponsorship break. Come back because we got two very special guests that I'm really excited about. So hold on just 1 second. We'll be right back.
My heat and air were in a state of disrepair. My drains were clogged. I was really in despair. So I called some guy. You've never seen such a mess. And every time he leaned over, well, you can probably guess. Now I get it done right by Picture Rocks Cooling. They're neat and clean, peachy keen. Really no fooling. Got a problem? Just call up and help is coming. Picture Rocks Cooling, heating and plumbing.
Hi, I'm Alan Murdoch. For the past 20 years, I've been buying, fixing, and selling properties right here in Southern Arizona. And I want to buy your property. Whether it's a house, apartment, commercial building, or vacant land, regardless of the condition or the situation, I want to talk to you. When you sell to me, I pay cash and it's hassle-free. No repairs, no closing costs, and no commissions. If you have a property you don't want to deal with and you want a quick solution, call, text, or visit selltalon.com. Again, that's selltalon.com.
Discover the power of 88 Crime, where your anonymous tips are rewarded with cash.
When you call in anonymously with a tip, you are given a code. With the code and a password, you can walk into a bank and redeem your reward anonymously. If your anonymous tip results in a felony arrest, you can claim up to $2,500 cash reward.
Let's stop the silence on crime and strive for a safer community. For more information, please visit 88crime.org or call 88crime.
Copper Creek Cookies, Copper Creek Cookies, coppercreekcookies.net.
We can print anything on our soft vanilla logo cookies. We deliver them and other sweet treats locally. We are located at 4249 West Ina Road, Suite 121. Call us 520-300-1131. We bake smiles.
Copper Creek Cookies, Copper Creek Cookies, coppercreekcookies.net.
All right, guys, we are back. We are so excited to have not just one, but two very special guests on today's podcast. Dr. Bonnie has over 12 years of pediatric physical therapy experience. She graduated from Shenandoah University, and her clinicals were in Virginia and Arizona, where she also met her husband, who is my brother. She specializes in infant development and has recently started her own business called Be Well Baby, where she provides pediatric PT in-home and in clinical in the East Valley of Phoenix. Please welcome to the Oversharing podcast, my sister-in-law, and for the very first time, the first baby on the Oversharing podcast, my nephew, Liam Andre. Yeah. Look how cute he is. Yeah. You can barely see him because he's sleeping, but we're going to kind of roll with today's episode and see how it goes. At any point, if he needs a boob, we're going to take a quick commercial break, latch him on, and move on with the podcast.
That's right.
Thank you for coming down.
Thanks for having me.
It was a journey?
It was a journey, yeah.
Tell everybody what time you left.
I told myself I needed to leave at 8, which meant that I actually left at 8:30 because that's how I roll.
Yeah.
And then I think like 20 minutes into the drive, he was like, I'm hungry.
Pull over.
We fed, and then.
What is the difference between driving with your third baby than like versus convincing yourself with like Brielle, who was your first baby, to be like, I'm going to drive down there by myself?
I just wouldn't have gone with Brielle.
You're like there's no way.
It was too much. It was just.
That was such a different time though. I feel like COVID threw a big old loop in Brielle's first couple years of life.
Yeah. With the first, everything was a big deal because it's all different and it's so
scary.
Overwhelming.
Uh-huh.
Not that this isn't overwhelming.
Yes.
Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
Like, third baby is probably even more, but my mental state and being
is
able
way
to,
better.
Yeah. I know what to expect a little bit more.
Yeah.
And so I feel like
It's like you built up tolerance.
Yeah, you build a tolerance a little bit. So yeah.
I love that. I'm glad you guys came. I didn't know what it was going to look like because I feel like part of me was like, maybe she's not going to come. So when I just heard him, he's so cute.
Squeaking.
I know. When you said yes and then you asked me, you're like, virtual. And I was like, I'd prefer in person.
Well, I was like playing mind game. I was like, wait, did we talk about this? Like,
Yeah. I don't think we talked about virtual or in person. I just assumed you would come.
I just wanted to make sure.
Yeah. I'm glad you came.
Because mommy brain is, I mean, we're
a
not,
real thing.
We're not sleeping. So,
I do have to tell everybody. So I stayed at your house probably a few months ago, and in the guest bedroom is the certificate of like your diploma for the university.
Yeah.
And I walked out and I asked you and my brother, I was like, hey, have you guys ever noticed, like, does that say Shenanigans University? The way it's spelled. Shenandoah. I was like, Shenanigans University.
Which is, I was just saying, it's like, it's in Virginia. I mean, it's like a very East Coast thing.
Yeah.
Like everybody there knows what Shenandoah is. But it's like.
You're like, I have no idea.
Yeah.
It sounds fun though.
Yeah.
Sounds like a shenanigan.
It was a lot of shenanigans.
In college.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about your background. Where did you go to school? We know in Shenanigan University. Your residency, how you got into pediatric. Is that something you always wanted to do?
Yeah, it is for sure. Yeah. I went to, so in undergrad, I studied kinesiology. I knew that after I changed my major a few times.
The way the body moves.
Yeah. I love science. I love the body. I was like, very into fitness and like, just wellness and all of that stuff. And so I'm like, okay, I want to do something with this. I have a cousin who's also a physical therapist, just a couple of years ahead of me.
Okay.
And then I broke my foot from dancing and had to go get PT. So all these things, just like perfect storm of like,
how to get
really
started.
Cool.
Yeah. And
this
interesting.
Is cool. This is interesting. I like this. So went into PT school and quickly realized that kids are way more fun than adults. Like 10 times more fun. Like low back pain all day. I don't know. Playing catch, blowing bubbles, snuggling cute babies. Yes,
I'll take that. Right up my alley.
Yeah. But in PT school, you have to learn how to be a generalist. So like you have to do all the
So you do the general adult stuff and then you specialize in infant care.
Yeah. Yeah. Specifically pediatrics alone is a specialty. And then infancy, like what I'm doing now with body tension, oral ties, that is a super hyper specific niche that has taken me a long time to get there too.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's just like PT school generalist. Then you come out and you get mentorship and you work and all of that and you get that experience and then you just keep niching down.
This is actually really cool because I feel like obviously I've known you for as long as you've been dating my brother, but we've never like sat down and talked about everything that you do. I know I asked you some questions about like pediatrics, and when I was living with you guys, there was like a few injuries and you're like, you should try this. You should try this.
Yeah.
That I probably didn't do, but.
And I probably I only know like a little bit about that area too,
How quickly did you get into infant care after that? So you graduated from Shenandoah University.
Shenanigans.
You come to Tucson and then you start the pediatric work here.
So I actually went to Phoenix first. I bounced all over the place. I lived in San Diego for a little bit.
Okay.
Tucson. Anyways. Yeah, I went right into pediatrics. And again, like once you get into pediatrics, it's still kind of a generalist. So I was like 0 to 18, 21. I was seeing the whole gamut there.
Yeah.
It wasn't until I had Brielle, which is our 5-year-old, for anyone who doesn't know my family specifics, that I really, really specialize in infant care, oral ties, body tension, all of these things, because I didn't know what I didn't know at that point.
What started with Brielle that sparked that interest?
We had an incredibly difficult time starting breastfeeding. Just incredibly difficult. It was so painful for months and months and months. And we had tongue tie, lip tie releases, which I knew nothing about at that time.
Yeah.
And so I was on this huge learning curve, asking all my colleagues at work, like, what is this? What do I do about it?
Yeah.
She was super tense in her body, didn't realize those things were related. She had torticollis, and I'm like, okay, I've been treating this for forever, but why is it so different?
With a baby.
With her, I just was noticing different things that I hadn't noticed in my clients before. And so it was this huge learning curve. And so that's what set me down this whole path.
Yeah.
And then since then, like each child has taught me something even more that has made me, I think, a better clinician, which is awesome.
Yeah, yeah.
But it was just breastfeeding. It was just
how do you separate like being doctor PT, like when you're caring for your babies and like trying not to overanalyze everything, and then having because I feel
With
like when you know so much, you want to like treat your kids. Like I think there was a time where Sienna was walking a little funny and you were like, oh my gosh, that's not normal.
Yes.
And then part of you has to be like, I gotta let her kind of.
It is almost impossible to be mama and Dr. Bonnie PT on your own children. And I've learned that with each child. Like, I mean, with Brielle, I definitely tried to do it. And I felt like it was so stressful. So stressful. So with Sienna and with this little guy, like I have definitely reached out for more support from my colleagues because I'm like, I know these things.
You're like, you can work on my kids and I can work on yours.
I know these things, but I'm too emotionally attached to like the objective. So
this is totally random, but I want to say this before I forget. One of the things I saw you doing one time on a baby was like, and I don't know if it was Regina's baby, I don't know who it was, but you lifted the baby up and you like moved their hips like this. You started farting.
Yes.
So when I was in Portugal, there was this little baby and she was uncomfortable. And I didn't know if she was uncomfortable because of her hips or because she was. So I put her hips up and I started going like this and she started tooting and I was like, oh, wow. I was like, this is cool.
Yes.
She just starts like, toot, toot, toot. And the mom's looking at me like, I was like,
amazing.
I have no explanation. I was like, I just watched my sister-in-law do it.
There's nothing else that I want people to ever like take from the things that I do. Like I have videos on this online. Like get your babies moving and they will toot and poop and they'll be so much happier. Like seriously.
We have so much to talk about.
That's so funny.
So you come to Arizona, you do your residency here. This whole thing starts when Brielle is a baby. Yeah. Which was close to almost 6 years ago.
5.5 years ago.
That's wild.
Yeah.
And then you go to specialize, you do online courses for this? Or how does that work?
Yeah. I mean, I literally, since that point, I've been taking courses and like spending time specializing because it costs a lot of money.
Yeah.
Like, years of courses and mentorships and that kind of stuff to really dive deep into this area of like body tension and what do we do about it and what are tongue ties and lip ties and all of those things.
Well, let's address some of those things. So what are the most common things that you're seeing? And I want to say that we hear some of these things and I don't like, I'm sure you think we're crazy because now I know like as I'm older, there's these things that are, it's just like science based. Like it's a thing when they tell you like the baby can't be without socks, it's going to get sick. You're like, not really. The baby's going to get sick if there's germs, but I get it, how that's something that we've grown up with. So
for sure,
some of these things are also things that are like old wives' tales that we've grown up. Like I feel like some of them we try to correct without the actual science behind it. I'm just talking about our family for experience. Like when I was younger, I remember one time, I don't know if I was like really gassy or something, but I remember someone like pulling at my back, like thinking that pulling the skin on my back was going to help me digest better without, again, everything is so different, right? So there's all these ideas, but there's a science behind it.
Yeah.
So what is like, let's break it down to like the 3 top things that you see very commonly with kids.
Okay.
And then
like
we'll
what
go from
I'm
there.
treating most commonly. Yeah. I mean, for sure. Like what I've already talked about, like the torticollis, which if anybody doesn't know what that is, I feel
let's
like this
explain.
Is super important.
Yeah, this is new territory. I ain't got a baby, I got a pity.
And this is like so common, torticollis. So I want families to know because the sooner that they get help for it,
the better.
Quicker, in and out, saving you lots of time and money. So torticollis is technically just like a tight neck muscle, basically is what it means.
Okay.
So you'll know a baby has torticollis if they're like tilting their head or turning their head to one side more than the other. You're like, oh, well, you really have like a side preference there.
Yeah.
Those babies often also have like a flat spot on their head. That's why you see those cute little babies with the helmets.
With the helmets.
Yeah. But there's stuff we can do before that point. Like we can avoid that helmet.
Yeah.
So that's a whole other thing, plagiocephaly.
Pause before you move on. Yeah. So the favoring one side, does that ever have to do with mom favoring one side?
That can make it worse. I don't know if I've ever seen that like actually cause it in the first place. A lot of families will blame themselves. They'll be like, oh my God.
They're like, I always hold them on my left side.
I think that torticollis really, really often starts in utero because, tight quarters in there.
Yeah.
And then with birth trauma, like that whole process.
Yeah.
And then just exaggerated by newborn life because newborns are,
they're new. They don't know what they're doing.
They can't move themselves very well. And we live in a culture where babies are in things a lot and that doesn't help them kind of unwind.
Okay.
So they're like in the car seat. And so, here I am. Like,
or in the baby carrier.
In the carrier, in the DockATot, in the swing, in the bouncer. We've got a lot of gadgets nowadays that are great for us, but not
so much for them.
The baby. And so that's why we see a lot of torticollis, tons of it.
I always wonder how things start, like in anything, like in generalized conversations, like how do things start, whether it's because of therapy, whether it's infant care, whether it's training, there's always like a history of those things, right? So when we're thinking about the history and the evolution of time, babies weren't in carriers. right? They didn't have all those things. They
Right.
had something like this where they would tie the baby
Yep.
in, but
Yep.
people probably didn't have torticollis back then. Like we've evolved
Not
into
as
an
much.
easier life,
Yeah.
but because of that, there's now some
Because
backlash.
they had a village.
Yeah.
They had people like, carrier
Uh-huh.
or family or, village,
Yes.
whatever. Somebody's
Help.
holding the
Mhm.
baby, moving the baby around.
Yeah.
And now we don't
don't
have
do
that.
that.
So it's like, I got to put you in the bouncer and
I
'cause
gotta go
mommy
to
has to go
work.
back to work
Yeah.
at 6 weeks or whatever.
That's a whole
craziness.
conversation.
It's a whole other thing. Yeah. Don't get me started.
Yeah.
Right.
Don't get me
So-
riled up.
Anyways, torticollis is probably one of the biggest things we see. And that's very tied into like
Yeah.
the tension and the head shapes and all of that, which are probably secondary, the most common stuff that we're
Let's-
looking at.
Being on the topic of torticollis, what are like a few things that parents can look out for
Yeah.
and like realizing, oh, this might be an issue and we need to assess?
Mhm.
And also, I don't know if this is the same with like PCPs as it is with an infant doctor. When you go to them, are they more like, oh, he'll grow out of it? How do we go into like the specialization of it? Because it's the same thing for like women's hormones. You go to your doctor and they're like, everything looks good.
Yeah.
But optimal isn't good,
Mhm.
right? So there's a
Mhm.
difference there.
Yeah. Right.
So what's the approach?
So for parents, first of all, what they're looking for is I would check like every time you lay your baby down for a diaper change or like, parents, you have a million pictures of your baby. Like go through and look at the pictures. Are they always looking at you like out of the corner of their eye? Are they tilting their head or their body? Their body is part of this. Like they might see curve their body every time you go to change their diaper and you're
They're
looking
like-
back at those pictures and you're like, why are you always, are they always like, are you having to take pictures from one certain side of them?
To get their face.
To get their face. And you're like, oh, okay. Because oftentimes families will be like, oh, they can turn their head. They just don't do it as often. That's a problem.
That's an
still,
issue,
It's
yeah.
still something to address. And again, the earlier, the better. And so we're really lucky in Arizona. Overall, you don't have to talk to the pediatrician at all about this. You
Yeah.
can just seek out PT.
Help.
Yeah.
Like you.
Yeah. You can just call me out. Hi,
Yeah.
I need to get an eval for my baby.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
I love that.
But if you do want to talk to the pediatrician and get a referral from them to see I don't know who to go to in the
Yeah.
area or whatever, you just say, hey, I'm noticing this issue with my baby. Who should I go see? Not what do you think about this? Yeah.
I love that.
Not what do you think about this?
Ooh,
Because you
that's a
will
good
get
note.
some of that, oh, they'll just grow out of it, or it's
Yeah.
not a big deal, or it's not a big enough deal yet. Guess what? It's going to be a big enough deal in 2 months if you don't do something about it.
Now.
Yeah.
I love that approach of like, instead of asking, being like, hey, I need a referral, instead of saying,
Yeah.
what do you think?
Yeah.
It's just, I don't know what it is with our medical care system that,
Well,
Like-
they have limited time, and this is not their area of expertise. If it was, I
Yeah.
wouldn't have a job, right?
Yeah.
Like I've dedicated, like I said, thousands of hours
yeah,
to learning about this. They can't do that. They're
Yeah.
they're
they're a
focused on,
generalized doctor.
they are, and they are good at the medicine side of things. I don't know. I can't do that stuff
Yeah.
because I didn't go to school for that. I didn't spend hours
Hours
and
and
hours,
hours and that.
right.
I will say, like, I don't know what the different, I don't know. When we met, what were you doing at the physical therapy for like adults at that point?
No, I've always been doing peds.
Always
Yeah.
doing peds?
Mhm.
I feel like there was a shift though, because you
Mhm.
can just tell when someone really like geeks out on this
Oh,
shit.
yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
you're like, I fucking love
Yeah.
this.
Well, when I first met you, I was here in Tucson, and I was working at TMC, which I
Yeah.
love. They have such a great program. But it was pre-kids, obviously, and I was seeing like older kids too, and I was just kind of like learning,
Floating.
yeah, like whatever. Like I was helping with kids who had concussions and that kind of stuff, and that was really interesting.
Yeah.
But
And
yeah,
there was
this
something
is, like,
about infant care that was like way
immediately
different.
like
Yeah,
this
yeah.
is my thing. Yeah.
Okay, so we did torticollis. Let's talk a little bit about tongue ties. I feel like that's a
Yeah,
really big one
it's a
because
big
he had
one.
a tongue. All kids,
All
had-
of them.
all three of them.
All three
Okay,
of them.
explain what a tongue tie is because I can imagine in my head what I think it is, but I could be
Mhm.
completely off.
Yeah. Well, everybody
Uh-huh.
has tissue under their tongue.
Yeah.
It's called a frenulum or a frenum. You might hear it either way.
Is that little thing in the middle that
Mhm.
like attaches?
It's a little thing in the
Okay,
middle.
cool.
Yeah. So we all have it. You can't really tell that something's a tongue tie by just like looking at it. We all
Yeah.
have that tissue. So don't like freak out, look in the mirror and be like, oh my God, I have a
Oh
tongue
my
tie. It's a tie when it inhibits function. So the
Like doesn't allow it to move.
yes, right. So our tongue should be able to go up to the roof of our mouth
Okay.
and suction up there.
Uh-huh.
We should be able to touch up there. It should rest up there, honestly. When we're like not talking, we're just like quietly breathing. Our tongue should be suctioned to the roof of our mouth.
I'm
Yeah,
practicing.
check that out. Yeah. Mhm.
My
Right.
face looks
When
weird
you're
though.
awake, when you're asleep, all the time. Babies, adults, everybody.
I think I have a tongue tie. I'm just kidding.
Check that later. So, and that's one of the motions. So like, and some babies will have a hard time with sticking their tongue out of their mouth. Sometimes they'll have a hard time like side to side movement. It's a functional diagnosis.
I'm going to make an educated guess and say that has to do with latching onto a boob.
Oh, it sure does.
I'm so smart
Absolutely.
sometimes.
Yep, it does. And so that's when we'll notice a lot of times like, okay, this is super painful. I'm getting nipple damage.
Yeah.
Like my milk's not coming in.
Yeah.
Or my supply is really low, or baby's not gaining weight. They're refluxy. They're colicky. They are super gassy. I mean, there's a lot of signs that it's going on. They might have lip blisters going on. They might not be able to latch at all. Like there's a lot of pieces to it there that point to that. There can be other things going on. It's not just tongue ties or lip ties all the time.
But it's an option.
But it's a big thing.
Okay.
Yeah. And there's a lot of misunderstanding about it.
That's a good thing to consider. And I feel like we can kind of transition into a little bit of like breastfeeding, because I feel like the stories that you hear is, well, the baby didn't latch on or it wasn't working out, and then people kind of just throw in the towel.
Yes.
I will say for myself personally, for a long time, like my mom didn't breastfeed any of us. That's why we're all fucked up. I'm just kidding, Mom. I love you. But my mother-in-law breastfed all her children. So I think there's like a give and take, and it depends on everyone's individual situation, what your go back to work is, how all that works, what kind of flexibility you have. But I feel like I'm more open to the idea of breastfeeding now than I was.
Seen it.
Yeah.
Right.
Because now I've seen it. And I feel like it's such an emotional, like now that I'm getting older and more emotional, I'm like, that's such a deep connection. I just don't know how you would want to pass up on it. But what I do hear
is hard.
It's hard.
It's hard.
And then it doesn't. Yeah. And then if it doesn't work out, people are like, well, it didn't work out for me, without considering the alternatives of what the baby could be essentially going through.
Yeah.
Right.
I think the big thing is that, you know, there's a lot. There's such a huge conversation, but we
can come back and talk about this eventually, but let's talk about it.
Sure.
Like but a whole breastfeeding
I just want people to know that there's support.
Yeah.
It's like, it's not that it just didn't work out. The baby doesn't know how, the baby doesn't like it. Like sometimes people are told that, or you're not good enough. It's not that your milk's not good enough. There are problems going
that we
on
need to
that
assess.
You need support. That's why we have lactation consultants.
Yeah.
And IBCLC I have met with one with every single breastfeeding journey.
Yeah.
Including my third. Like you would think I'm a pro by now. And I did know it. Like he was feeding okay.
Yeah.
I still went and saw an IBCLC.
Just in case.
And still, I mean, guarantee like she saved our journey because
she's a specialist in that. And she knows everything that she needs to know about breastfeeding.
Yes.
Regina had, I think at the beginning was having a hard time with the baby latching on, and she went and she could not rave enough about this woman that she saw. I don't know what her name was, but she was like, she just like sat there and like talked to us like a person.
Yes.
Like, show me what you're doing, show me what you could be doing, and like how are you holding her different and what would help. And she came out of that like she was like, I just felt 10 times better.
A good lactation consultant makes you like feel heard and seen as a new mom postpartum, like in that phase. It really is life-changing. They're the best. I can't recommend it enough for anybody who wants to breastfeed, whether you're having issues or not. Go see a lactation consultant. Yes. Yeah. Make sure it will ease all of your fears, answer all of your questions, and get you on the right path if you're not on the right path.
Yeah. And that's, again, personal choice, right? If you don't want to do it, you don't have to do it. Right. But if you want to do it, I don't think
there's help. There's support. You don't have to just give up. And I think a lot of times moms get maybe not the best advice, again, from like a general practitioner. And they're told to supplement without like maybe an alternative plan, then that impacts their supply. Like there's just so much to it. So I want people just to know to get the support from the people that they should be getting that support from if that's their goal.
Yeah. I love that.
Yeah, it's huge. It's such a big deal. That could be a whole podcast.
We could talk about
so passionate about breastfeeding.
Yeah, all day long. I love it. Okay, so we talked about torticollis. We talked about tongue ties.
Yeah.
What else?
Kind of.
There was another. Yeah, let's go back to tongue ties.
Well, I mean, it's just like it's hand in hand.
Yeah,
you know, it's like. Again, that could be like a whole podcast.
That's a medical procedure, correct? Like they have to go in and release it?
Yeah, and there's different ways that they release it. Like you'll hear about some people. Yeah, right.
That makes me sad.
This stuff. It's hard. And that's the other thing about a tongue tie release. Like parents need to know how difficult it is. So that's the other thing that I do. Like I help families pre-release and post-release. Yes, because I want a family to know this is hard.
Yeah.
First of all, your baby's going to be pain for a couple of days. Like it really isn't too awful, but you have to participate in wound care and like strengthening exercises after the release every 4 to 6 hours for 6 weeks. So we are still in the middle of doing that.
Yeah.
Like in the middle of the night, I have to do it.
That's insane.
Throughout the day, I have to do it. I have to remember to do these exercises, like lift the tongue up, tongue side to side.
Yeah.
So there's a lot. It's hard.
A lot
That's
of stuff.
stressful. Families need to know that
before they go into it.
Because if they don't know that and then they can't uphold that, and then we have reattachment, then we have, further feeding issues, stress, families are getting stressed out.
Yeah.
There's a whole
It's not fun for everybody.
No.
Let's pause right there on the tongue ties. We're going to cut to a quick break and we'll come back and finish up on the tongue ties. He's doing
My heat and air were in a state of disrepair. My drains were clogged. I was really in despair. So I called some guy. You've never seen such a mess. And every time he leaned over, well, you can probably guess. Now I get it done right by Picture Rocks Cooling. They're neat and clean, peachy clean. Really no fooling. Got a problem? Just call up and help is coming. Picture Rocks Cooling, heating and plumbing.
Hi, I'm Alan Murdoch. For the past 20 years, I've been buying, fixing, and selling properties right here in Southern Arizona. And I want to buy your property. Whether it's a house, apartment, commercial building, or vacant land, regardless of the condition or the situation, I want to talk to you. When you sell to me, I pay cash and it's hassle-free. No repairs, no closing costs, and no commissions. If you have a property you don't want to deal with and you want a quick solution, call, text, or visit selltoalan.com. Again, that's selltoalan.com.
Discover the power of 88 Crime, where your anonymous tips are rewarded with cash.
When you call in anonymously with the tip, you are given a code. With the code and a password, you can walk into a bank and redeem your reward anonymously. If your anonymous tip results in a felony arrest, you can claim up to $2,500 cash reward.
Let's stop the silence on crime and strive for a safer community. For more information, please visit 88crime.org or call 88crime.
Copper Creek Cookies, Copper Creek Cookies, coppercreekcookies.net.
We can print anything on our soft vanilla logo cookies. We deliver them and other sweet treats locally. We are located at 4249 West Ina Road, Suite 121. Call us 520-300-1131. We bake smiles.
Copper Creek Cookies, Copper Creek Cookies, coppercreekcookies.net.
I just learned two things. One, if you breastfeed, you don't get your period for a year.
Some people.
And you can have an oversupply of boobs.
Of milk, man.
I'm dead.
We're taking
That
a
was
turn
funny.
here. It's just going to take a turn for the worse now.
Hold on. Okay. Let's finish up with some of those tongue ties. And then I want to go into tummy time, which apparently baby Liam is lagging on the tummy time.
He
can't be the poster child of Be Well Baby if he doesn't lift that head up.
Well, it has to do with like all the tongue tie stuff that we've been through, because he was like, he had the tightest tie of all the kids. And so like it's pulling here. It's pulling here because this is where the muscles attach.
Is that where it opens his mouth a little bit too? Or what's that? When his mouth was open. We were talking about this.
Yeah. Okay. So open mouth posture is part of this. This is like a sign. Your baby should not be having their mouth open. Just like we shouldn't be snoring as adults. Like it's not normal. It's common. It's not normal. It means there's something wrong with your airway.
Okay.
It's something going on here, right? There's a lot. It could be just oral dysfunction. It could be enlarged tonsils, adenoids. Could be allergy. I mean, there's so many pieces to it.
Same thing
for babies, right?
Okay.
Their tongue should be up. Their lips should be closed. And if they're not, there's a reason. Something's pulling it. Sometimes it's that tongue tie tension. And so it's pulling here. It's pulling here, right? Chin.
So if the chin's pulling down, then it's hard to lift the neck.
Tummy time.
Oh, this is all science.
Yeah,
it's making sense.
So now he's released. He has the range of motion, but the strength now
it's like he's working on it.
He spent the first 6 weeks of his life
down.
Here stuck.
Oh,
and so now it's like, I have to learn how to use his muscles.
Yeah,
it's like, hard.
That's how it'll work for me.
So that's what I do, like in my job, and now I'm doing it with my child, and it's not as fun.
Working.
It's not as fun when it's your own child because I'm with him all the time.
Yeah, so
it's harder to appreciate the progress.
Let's talk about the importance of tummy time.
Yeah, tummy time's a big deal.
I did tummy time in Portugal too with some babies right here.
Good job.
Yeah, they were like swimming.
I am
so babies. I know. I did some stuff. I listen.
Good for you.
I try my best.
You do listen.
Yeah.
You're a good listener.
I try to.
I think so. Yeah. Tummy time, floor play. I like to always say it as floor play because tummy time does get like the spotlight here, as it should, because babies are on their backs asleep. So we got to put them on their tummy. But babies should be playing on their backs, on their sides, and
their
on their
tummy.
bellies. We should be just flipping them around like a rotisserie chicken all day
Like a
long.
tortita.
Okay. Yes, like that. Yeah, exactly.
Dead. What are some things? Okay, so there's some kids that just don't vibe with tummy time.
Some kids just really have a
Liam
hard
ain't
time.
vibing with tummy time.
So far, he will. Don't worry.
Okay.
We're going to get there.
Practice makes perfect.
Mhm.
What are your, let's say, 3 top tips for like tummy time?
Yeah. So newborns for sure on your chest. Just do it as much as you can on your chest. Baby wear them. That's part of this is tummy time-ish.
Yeah.
It's tummy time adjacent. Like it's part of the program.
Okay.
But on your chest, and then you can kind of lean back, especially if they're awake and alert. So you lean back a little bit, make it a little harder. And so that makes it a little bit more enjoyable for them, especially in that early phase.
Yeah.
And then
when they want to be connected to mama.
Yeah, right. They want to see you. They can't see anything else. Why are you putting me on my belly?
Yeah.
Like, this sucks. I'm going to scream at you.
Yeah.
You know?
This sucks.
This sucks. And then another big one is like just after diaper changes, make it part of your routine to, okay, change your diaper.
Roll you over.
Or roll you to your side. Hang out there, chit chat for a second.
Yeah.
Roll you to your belly. Even if it's 5 seconds, I don't care how long it is.
Yeah.
I just care that you did it. Yeah. Roll your belly, hang out there, chit chat, and then roll them back. So like show them how to get in and out of it too. That's huge.
I'm sure we're going to talk about a little bit more of your social media, but I do want to say like your educational, informative videos on both TikTok and Instagram are chef's kiss 10 out of 10. You guys got to check them out.
Thank you.
Because like I've seen like the ones where I think there's one of like Brielle or Sienna, like where you're moving things around to practice them turn and they're like,
yeah, right.
What is that?
Because families like don't know.
Yeah, they just think roll them on their tummy and then they cry and then they're like they hate it and they pick the baby up.
And they're being told too, like, oh, your baby has to spend an hour in tummy time. And I'm like, what?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah. I wouldn't want to lay there for an hour.
Right. And their baby's screaming and they're like, well, you got to stay there because
for an hour.
Doctor told me that you need to spend an hour here. So I'm setting the timer and I'm just going to stress out.
Yeah, that's not cool.
Hello, anxiety. Like we've got enough things to worry about. We don't need that. So that's like where all of that was born from. Like, okay, I need to show families how to make this like less stressful. That's my whole goal in there. Yeah. Just let's not stress as much about it. Easier said than done.
Everything else is always already stressful, so why add more?
Yeah.
I also feel like with like what you're saying is if you change your diaper and you roll them over, like you're going to change your diaper about 20 more times today. So you that hour can come together with like 5 minutes at a time.
As it should.
Instead of like leaving the baby there for an hour.
And it should never be like that. Like it should never be one long hour anyways, until they can do it themselves. And they will. They'll get to that point. 5-6 months they're rolling and they're going to roll themselves there and they're not going to want to get out of it. That's the goal. It's a marathon, not a sprint, but you're not going to get that at 2 months old. Like
maybe Liam will. He's going to be a star athlete.
We got to figure out tummy time first. So then
we got to get him to lift his head up first.
We got some problem solving to do here.
Tell us about the beginning of Be Well Baby. And I do want to talk a little bit about Be Well Mama because that sounds really exciting.
Yeah, super cool.
You guys are collabing. We're
collabing. This is so exciting.
Okay, talk about Be Well Baby first, how this whole thing started.
Oh my gosh. Be Well Baby has literally been in the works for so long.
Okay.
And life has just continually gotten in the way. And I've gotten in my own way.
Yeah.
Many times.
As
like,
we do.
Just mentally,
When we're starting new things.
For sure. But there's no like other way forward for me at this point because of what I love to do.
Yeah.
And just because of being a mom with young children and just like figuring out how to.
And there's no perfect time.
Yeah.
Because what's to say? Literally like there was no perfect time when Brielle was 2 years into COVID and then you guys had Sienna and then there was no perfect time. Now you have another infant. Like, what are you going to wait another?
I promise you, being pregnant and building a business at the same time was definitely not the perfect time.
Not
10 out of 10 do not recommend doing that.
Don't do that.
But like,
that means that you could just handle everything else.
If
you did it pregnant, you'll be fine.
I guess so. Yeah. So Be Well Baby like officially has like taken off this year.
Okay.
And so I've been all in home up to this point. So I've just been like busting my ass, like boot scooting around the valley.
Okay.
Just like, okay, I'm coming to see your baby, which is great. I love seeing babies in their home. It's so great for the family.
They're more comfortable.
Yeah. And I can just use like what they have. And it's just one less thing that they have to do because going out with a baby is pretty hard.
Of work.
It's a lot of work.
Thank you for being here again.
Yeah. Happy to. But I'm really excited because now I have a clinic space too, which is so terrifying to me, but also
awesome.
like,
I didn't know that. I'm so glad we waited to talk about all this. That's so exciting.
So exciting because I'm like, okay, now I have even less time than I did before.
Yeah.
Like less time to be away from the baby.
Yep.
Like I'm just, that's a non-negotiable for me. I'm not going to spend 10 hours away
at a
from
clinic. Yeah.
So now people can come to me. I can help more families. I'm still going to do some in-home too.
Yeah.
But hopefully I'm going to have some more families coming to me so I can see them.
Easier.
Yeah.
And it's also your space. You get to take the baby with you.
Yeah. That's the hope is. So that's where Brittany comes in. Brittany Klein, Dr. Brittany
We're
Klein.
We're going to have her come back in eventually.
Yes, for sure.
It was a little short notice to get her in this week, but we talked about it.
Yeah.
So I'll message her and be like, hey, tag you're it.
Absolutely.
Time to come in.
Yes. She
So what is she doing? So you're working more with babies and families.
I'm with the babies, right?
I'm guessing she's working with moms.
She's the mama gal.
Oh my gosh. Tell me more.
Yes. So Be Well Mama, like we met like earlier this year and we were like, okay, what's the move? Like, what are we doing moving forward? Because she had a baby last year.
Yeah.
And so she's been home with the girls. Well, she does a million things actually.
Yeah.
Brittany does so many things. She has like a ton of side hustles, which is crazy.
I love that.
Yeah, she's awesome. But we were like, okay, this is going to happen. This is going to be Well Mama. She focuses on moms prenatal, so like pregnancy and labor prep, also postpartum
Brittany,
as well.
you're hired.
Yeah. Yes.
I love
She's
that.
amazing. So she does virtual and she does in-home right now too.
Okay.
And we're just like so excited. So this is like a sister company. So like Be Well Mama is her baby. It's just we're just
merging
like
a little
we're
bit.
like synergized together.
That's
like,
amazing.
Yeah, we're like
you have to tell
companies.
everybody because you guys have been friends for a really long time.
Yeah, we met in PT school actually.
At Shenanigans University.
So Brittany and I are from the same hometown,
but you guys weren't friends in the
never
hometown.
Knew each other.
You guys went to school together?
No,
just
we
from
went
the
to
same hometown.
Different high schools
Okay.
in the same hometown. We actually knew similar people, but our paths never crossed that I know of.
Yeah.
And then we met at PT school and we had a cute little like class of like 30 people. Like it wasn't like a huge class or anything. And so hit it off immediately. Like we were all pretty close in that class.
Yeah.
And then her and I, like at our last clinical, or second to last clinical, we both came out to Tucson together, different like clinical location, but we lived together and just like the rest is history.
The college vibes with Brittany Klein.
Yeah,
what a time.
We just were like, this is amazing. We had so much fun here. And we were like, oh, we're moving.
Yeah.
We're moving here. Like we both agreed separately, like we're moving out to Arizona and we were like,
and you guys both moved.
And here we are.
And you guys both met your husbands here?
Yeah. Well, no, she met her husband at her last clinical. And then they decided like, hey, we're going to keep dating. And Brittany.
You're moving to Tucson.
Yeah. Well, they came out to Phoenix, but yeah. They, Scott was like, all right, I'm coming out to Arizona with you. And the rest is history.
I'm sure Soto's listening in the other room, but he does a sports podcast. So it'd be cool to have Brittany's husband on here. Soto, if you're listening, her husband is an athletic trainer for the
PT.
He's
their strength and conditioning
for the Arizona Diamondbacks. So
he is
that's
PT.
your in, buddy. If she comes in and records with me, he can record with him.
Would be awesome.
He would love
such
that.
a good idea.
Yeah. That's really cool. I feel like good businesses start off a foundation of like passion, but to be able to do it with somebody that you fully trust, like,
dream.
And you guys are in like right up the same alley with your timelines. Like you guys both have kids. Her oldest is Brielle's age as well, or a little bit older.
All of our kids are like a year apart. Yeah.
So
it's
like
crazy.
6 and 5.
Yeah.
4 and 3. And then one and a baby.
Newborn. Yeah.
That's awesome.
I know.
And they're going to grow up together.
I know. It's just so crazy
Like
how
it's
it's
a dream.
worked out. It really is a dream. It's like we like at least once a week we'll message each other and be like, can you believe this? No, we'll be like, we can't believe that we're like living this life right now. We feel so lucky.
Yeah.
Like that we just get to be near each other and like experience this phase of life together.
Yeah.
It's special.
Being in that phase and having somebody that you care about probably makes it a little bit easier.
It does.
I'm really excited to also hear about what her approach with like moms is. Like that's super interesting. It's really intricate.
We got to get her on here. She's
you guys
amazing.
can come back together with her.
Hers is like born out of her passion from her experiences too, as from laboring, and
she had a VBAC, right?
She's had two VBACs.
Amazing.
Her first was an emergency C-section. I'll let her tell this story because it's her story to tell. But yeah, I mean that's where a lot of this was born. So both of our passions just born.
So
out
like
of
mine was born with the babies, and her was born as a mom.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
It's amazing.
I can't wait to hear all about it.
Super excited. It's going to be a big year.
What does a session look like with Be Well Baby? Is it? I know you're doing online, but you're going to start doing it in person. Like, what does that look like when you come? Are you going into somebody's house? We can go differently. We can go both virtual and both like coming into someone's house.
Yeah, I mean, virtual is so different, and that's just like a mostly what I do virtually is like a wellness consultation.
Yeah.
It's different. It's not PT. It's like parents that have questions. They want me to just like give them suggestions on how to help their baby get to the next steps. But there's not like an issue going on. There's not like a diagnosis or anything. It's just like, hey, help. You can be proactive here, which I love. And I do that in person too. But in person, whether it's in home or in the clinic, it's like, you know, they're coming to me. We're taking a thorough history. My evals are an hour and a half, and that's if I can keep myself on time because I'm terrible at that. I usually will like run over.
You're like, I've got so many questions.
I want to talk. I want to know everything. I want to know how your birth was, how your pregnancy was. I want to know all of the issues that are going on. I want to know how baby is sleeping. I want to know how they're feeding. I want to see how they're moving because it's all connected. Every single piece of that is connected.
That is amazing.
And so I want to hear everything. And then we're going to go through it. We're going to go through where the issues are. We're going to check out baby from head to toe, right? Like I'm going to see how their mouth is moving. I want to see how their head moving. I want to measure their head shape. I want to see how their toes are moving. I want to check their reflexes. I want to see how they're feeding. Like I'm going to do all of that.
How do you check a baby's reflexes?
Well, they have a bunch of them. There's a bunch of different reflexes.
What do you mean they don't blink?
It's not just a blink reflex.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they've got they've got reflexes. They do blink. What are you talking about?
Infants don't blink. They keep their eyes open like this. I swear, dude. The other day I was looking at a video that JP sent to the group chat and I was staring at his eyes and he did not blink. He was looking around. He was like,
well, maybe there's something wrong with Liam. I don't know.
My boy, you may be a little fucked up. We got to get you checked out by a specialist.
Worst Tia ever? No. Okay, so there's reflexes.
He's waking up because he's like, are you talking shit?
I know. It's okay.
It's okay, buddy.
You can get her later.
I apologize.
Yeah. They've got reflexes all over their body.
Okay.
Mouth reflexes, arms, legs. I mean, on their spine, there's reflexes. So we're checking all those because that tells us like where their neurological system is at. Like, where are they at with that? Are we symmetrical? Are we not symmetrical? And so we're checking through all of that. And then treating them, which looks like hands-on, like manual therapy. I use something called craniosacral fascial therapy. Myofascial release, like all kinds of different things. And then I'm
all different techniques.
Yeah, different techniques.
Okay.
Yep. But they're all gentle. That's the nice thing about working with a baby.
They're just little babies.
Yeah. It's like I want it to be stress-free. Like I don't want the baby to be like freaking out, crying. If they are, we're going to figure out what they need and how to get their neurological system to like
down.
Yeah,
relax.
Down. We want to be rest and digest. That's where we learn best. That's how we function best.
And some of these babies, and that's where we learn best.
That's right.
I love that.
That's right.
We should tell adults that. Rest and digest.
I love it. That's going to be the new
motto. Rest and digest.
Okay, but we should all be in rest and digest more often.
I will tell you,
we're not.
I do not rest, but I do digest.
I can't.
I'm a good digester.
I'm done.
Let's wrap
We're
it up.
done. I'm out of here.
Wrap it up.
I can't handle
the baby
anymore.
Isn't crying. We're fine.
I know.
Okay, so that's virtually in person.
That's in person too.
Okay, cool. Everything's pretty similar.
Yeah, no, that's all like in person. Virtual was really just like it's more of like a general
console, and then you kind of move through.
Yeah.
What are some things in babies that people consider normal that probably aren't normal?
Oh my gosh.
Hit me with like your top 3, 5, 6, 101.
So good. Immediately. Hi, buddy.
Good morning.
Hello. How do you do? Crawling is not normal to skip crawling.
Not normal to skip crawling.
Period.
Like your kid shouldn't be from laying to sitting to standing.
Yeah, it's not normal. Like the babies that want to, and this is how it happens. The babies that want to stand all the time when they're like newborns, they're tense and stiff. They don't want to stand.
Let me guess this because I feel like I've seen it. Like it's like when you pick up a baby and then they just kind of like
stiff as a board.
Extend all the way out.
And those are the babies that are refluxy and colicky. And they need my help. Like
what's colic? Can you tell me what it is? Like I've heard it, but what is it exactly?
It's a general blanket term for a baby that cries a certain amount of time every day. They're not happy babies. That's what it means. And people use it for a long time. It's been used as a like, oh, your baby just has colic. They have to grow out of it.
What is colic?
Something.
Yeah, something's wrong.
It means maybe they have ties and gas. Yeah, right. They might have a tongue tie and like their tongue's not resting where it should be. They're not in rest and digest, which is that's a whole thing.
Yeah.
They might have reflux, like very painful reflux. They might have food allergies going on. They might have body tension. That alone. How do we feel good when we're tight?
No.
Yeah,
I'm like moving my shoulders around like I need to loosen up.
They just went through like the ultimate like birth. Hello.
Yeah.
Kind of kind of
a big deal.
Kind of a big deal.
Yeah.
Like
pushing through a canal, lots of work. Lots of work.
Yeah. We can be tense from that. Like, you know, do we feel good? No. Do we complain about it when we're tense? Yeah. Babies, they can't sit there and be like, you know what? It really is like, a rub.
Shoulders really hurt me. Yeah.
They cry. And usually it's a perfect storm of like multiple things. It's not always just one. But that's what colic is. Something's wrong and we need to figure it out, not just ignore it.
Oh, he's colicky. Yeah.
They'll just grow out of it because they're growing into something else, some other compensation. It's not normal. It's just, it's communication. It's telling us something.
Yeah. Let's go back to crawling, skipping, crawling, going to standing.
Yeah.
And walking on your tippy toes. I feel like that's a big one for a lot of people.
Yeah, that's not normal either.
I know.
Yeah, for
so
sure.
I'm asking you because Sienna used to do it for a little bit.
She did. And that's different. So so tippy toe walking, that's good. Let's go there first. So tippy toe walking is an issue when it's happening like 50% of the time or more. Kids will tippy toe walk most of the time. Like that can be a typical part of development.
Yeah.
Most kids will play with it about like, I don't know, like somewhere between like 4 to 6 months after they start independently walking, they will start to tippy toe walk.
Okay.
And they'll go up and down and that's okay. That's normal. Yeah. That's them building up, literally just building up those muscles to get ready for jumping and running, which happen around the age of 2.
That's so crazy.
So that's a normal part of development.
Whole thing.
Sienna did it probably a little bit more often. And that's because she has lower muscle tone. So she takes a little bit more time to build strength. We all have muscle tone. We're all in somewhere on the spectrum of
I
like
think we talked about this
lower.
one time.
Yeah. And so she's just a little bit lower, which just means like she's a little more loosey-goosey.
Yeah.
And like it just takes her a little bit longer to build strength.
Yeah.
But it's normal. Like it's still within a normal range. There can be abnormal.
How quickly do you know what kind of muscle tone an infant has?
Pretty quickly, just like because I've done it for so long, like I can just feel like what their muscle tone is.
That's funny.
Most babies should feel pretty loosey-goosey. That's what we want. Yeah. And so as they start to like around 3 months, it becomes more apparent like what their muscle tone really, really is because they're moving more. And so it's like, oh, okay, you are a little bit on the stiffer-ish but normal side. Or you're like, you feel like you're about to fall through my fingers when I pick you up. Like that's the loosey-goosey.
Is that how Brielle was?
No,
that was Sienna.
No, Sienna.
Okay, cool,
Sienna
cool.
was loosey-goosey, but still within normal. Brielle was a little bit higher muscle tone.
Yeah.
Which is what I am too.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's just, it's just all
everyone's
variations of normal. Yeah.
When is the ideal time for a baby to start walking?
Oh man, anytime between some babies will start super early, like 9, 10 months.
So one of our girls at the gym, the baby's turns 1 in March. So she's like 9, 10 months right now, if that.
Yeah.
And she's starting to take off. But
Crazy.
She was crawling.
Yeah, so good.
She's sitting. We saw her start crying, and we saw her starting to pull to stand.
Yeah.
And now she's starting to take steps, and we're like,
oh my
holy
gosh.
shit.
It's so crazy.
Yeah. Like she'll be walking by next month.
Yeah.
For sure.
And like normal would be, 12 months is like just the beginning. Everyone thinks a baby has to be walking by 12 months. But it's not true. I would say if a baby's not walking or getting really, really close by like 14, 15 months,
then we've got a problem.
That's time.
Yeah.
We don't want to wait until they're 18 months to be like, oh, let's get support. No, like that's the time where it's like, okay, let's just make sure there's nothing else going on here. It could just be low muscle tone. Like there's so many things. But everyone's 12 to 15 is I would consider normal. Yeah. Yeah.
I did have a few Instagram questions I think before we wrap up. So let's get those going. Let me see what we got.
Absolutely. I love it.
Okay. Ooh, this is a good one. Kind of off topic, but it's a good one. What's the weirdest thing that happened to you during pregnancy or during birth?
Oh, what's the weirdest thing? How gross should I get though?
Hit it. Hit me, sister.
Because I'm thinking about birth. Because Sienna's birth was like
messy.
Well, only because we had a stomach virus.
Oh, that's true.
We had a stomach virus that put me into labor, which thank God, because she was 8 days late. So
thank God
there
were the stomach virus.
There were things happening down there that happen normally in labor, but
it was excessive.
A little excessive. Yeah.
What? Okay, I do want to ask you this.
Yeah.
What was the biggest? Okay, so we talk about being like first time mom, and first time anything is always like way so like
crazy.
What would you have done differently first time versus third time around? Because are we allowed to tell everybody about your birthing story with this bad boy?
Yeah, sure. Yeah,
so I was in Portugal. My brother messaged me. I was sitting at a restaurant, and it was a video of you in the parking lot, and the video was 4:31 a.m.
Yeah, that's when.
And it was like, hey, we just got to the hospital,
he
and then I
checked. Oh my God!
Checked my phone. And then the baby was here 15 minutes later.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah,
What?
It was wild.
And that was not what it was like with Brielle and Sienna.
No, Brielle's was long and hard, which is typical for a first time mom. Yeah, so that's just what to expect.
Do you feel like the third time around it was like, I've done this before? Like,
and he was small too, so
he's so tiny.
Yeah. First time, what would I do different? Birth specifically, I would have hired a doula for sure. I wish I had that support. 100%.
We talked about this.
I think that would have changed it because her birth, while I had a great vaginal birth, was stressful for her and for me and a little traumatic from that perspective. And I think I could have used more support from somebody who was just knowledgeable about it. Whereas with him, yes, I knew what I was doing. My body knew what it was doing, which is why it happened so quickly. I was like, I think I'm in labor. I don't know. And Brittany was like, hey, you need to go to the hospital.
I think it's time.
Third babies are,
they
like to get out real quick. And thank God she said that because I literally almost had him in the ED before they got me up there. I said, the baby's coming.
Could you feel him? He's like, he's
dropped fast into my pelvis. My water broke. He fell into my pelvis. And I was like, about like trying to rip my shorts off in the emergency.
Because you could feel him.
He was there.
Yeah, you could feel him. He was there.
He was coming.
Yeah. That's wild.
So that was
that's my mom
stressful
calling.
in a different respect.
That was stressful. Okay, this is another one.
Nana.
Hi, Grandma. What's the healthiest, smartest way to approach allergies in a young child?
Well, that's a pediatrician question. So they probably saw a doctor and they thought.
This is a good one that you'll be able to answer.
Yeah.
W-sitting.
Oh, yeah.
So when to worry and how to correct it.
If it's what they're doing.
What is this, first of all? I have no idea.
Well, it's like when they're sitting with their...
I know exactly.
With their legs behind them, out, like to the sides.
Like this.
Yeah.
Like if these are my legs.
If it's what they prefer to do, like all the time. If they W sit, but they also sit crisscross and they sit with their legs out and they sit in the side sit.
Yeah.
Fine, whatever.
But if
they're doing it all the time, go get a PT eval for sure. Yeah.
Go
because there's weakness.
Visit Be Well Baby for a virtual consult.
Come chat with me. Yeah,
come
for sure.
Chat.
We can chat about that in virtual for sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
That'd be a good one.
Yeah, that would be a good one.
Well, we're getting ready to wrap up. Tell everybody where they can find you before.
Yeah. So
wrap up.
I'm most active on Milestone Mama, which is my like bigger personal brand, I guess I would say.
On Instagram.
On Instagram, it's milestone_mama. On TikTok, it's just milestone mama. But you can find me at Be Well Baby PT on Instagram too.
Perfect.
Yeah, that's just the professional
business. We love that. Baby Leo did such a good job.
Yeah, thanks, buddy.
I can't wait to hold him.
Yeah.
All right, guys, we are going to wrap up. Thank you guys so much for coming. Thank you for coming and making the drive. I know it's a journey with an infant, but I'm glad that you guys are here and that I get to snuggle him before you leave.
Yes.
We'll see you guys next week. Thank you guys so much for being here. You guys know where to find me, all things.GP Soto on Instagram. Also, I've been like pretty active on TikTok, so make sure you guys follow me on TikTok. Have a great week, guys. Bye.
Bye.
That was awesome.